10 years from now, you're not going to regret that you didn't do it perfectly. You're going to regret that you didn't do it at all. There is a crazy trend going around on social media right now where people are comparing their 2016 to their 2026. Now, I don't know what makes 2026 so special that we're looking back a decade and why we haven't done this every single year. But for me, I was going to ignore this trend. I was like, who has the time? That's right about the point where my camera roll ends. I'm kind of crazy, and my iPhone is currently retaining 2017 all the way until right now. So quite a few years of storage on my phone. Previous to that, everything has been offloaded to an external drive. So to pull up stuff from 2016 would have required me to go way back on my social media accounts or to pull up that external hard drive. But I'm so glad that I did, because I opened that drive this morning with the intent of doing a really quick post and just skimming across, finding a few cute pictures of my family. And what I ended up discovering was that 2016 was one of the most pivotal years in my entire life. The action and the things that I did in 2016 have continued to impact the person and the business that I am and that I have today. And I had no idea then how important and how significant some of those choices were. But here I am enjoying the fruit of that labor and that effort and that seemingly messy action that has continued to drive things forward and turn my life into the incredible blessing that it is today. And I was so inspired by that 2016 action that Kirsten Tyrell took that it actually motivated me to record this brand new podcast episode today. I had goals of relaunching my show and doing it in the form of a YouTube channel as well. But it's admittedly been something that just kind of gets pushed to the side because there's a lot of fear that comes up when I imagine having this platform again. So I want to talk about what I did in 2016 that is still making such a huge ripple effect. And I'm not going to get into the deep nitty-gritty of it. If you want to see all the things, you can go to Instagram or TikTok. But I do want to talk about the one thing which I just referenced that I did in 2016 that is still impacting my life today, and that is launching a podcast. Now, this is not an episode about how everybody should start a podcast. I'm simply shocked by how taking massive action, taking massive messy action, having equipment that I had no idea what to do with, having software that I'd never used before, and honestly, a dream of becoming a millionaire was all I really had going into launching my first show. Back then, people didn't even know what an RSS feed was. They didn't understand how when they came on my show as a guest, that content was even going to be viewed. Social media was still brand new. Marketing was in a completely different space 10 years ago. And so I was literally a pioneer in the Wild West in the world of podcasting. But now to see how massive my network has continued to be, even though I haven't been actively recording episodes on that podcast, and even though the title of the show has changed dramatically many, many times over the years, it was simply taking that first step and choosing to do something outside of my comfort zone that has drastically changed the entire direction of my life. It's enabled me to do so many incredible things in my business, in my personal life, have so many cool friendships, long-lasting, deep relationships that have blessed me in more ways than just financially. Seeing what 2016 Kirsten was willing to do without as much information as 2026 Kirsten has made me realize that the time for action is now, the time for action is yesterday, and there is no space for me to sit and try and perfect this. Because if in 2016 I had tried to get everything just right before starting, I wouldn't have 10 years of podcasting under my belt. I wouldn't have made millions of dollars on the internet. I wouldn't have launched multiple successful businesses. I wouldn't have had all the monumental failures that I've even had and learned the hard-earned lessons that I have gained that are making me the most amazing, impactful coach for my clients who are just a few years behind the trajectory that I have been on. You might be looking at the beginning of a new year with a lot of trepidation. You might feel a little bit of anxiety because a new year, if you're like me, represents all of the things that you maybe didn't do in the prior year. And you're thinking, okay, here we go again. We're setting new goals. We're trying to step into this new version of what we want to create this year. And it can bring up the reminders of the fails or the things that you didn't quite get to in the prior year. I know I can look back and think, man, I could have done so much more if this and this and this hadn't gotten in my way. I'm going to help you understand how that is not a strange thing. It is not weird to be starting a new year or really any new season and to be constantly held back by those beliefs, those thoughts, those imaginary moments that come up in your mind. And I want to talk to you about the part that nobody really references from like a scientific point of view. When you are starting a new year or starting something entirely new, it doesn't even have to be in the new year, your brain is immediately pulling evidence from the past. So let's say you have a really big, audacious, ambitious goal for 2026 or any time you're setting out to start something new or reassess or rebuild, regrow, whatever it might be. Your brain is bringing up all these little moments and memories that say, oh, no, remember last time we tried to do this? Do you remember 2024, 2023? We sat down, we did the journaling, we picked our word of the year, we listed out all of our goals. We even rented that room at the library to do this really fancy whiteboard aesthetic view of what we were going to create and what we were going to build. Only how did at that end, we spent more money, we didn't grow, we didn't do this, we never posted on social media. And so all of these little reminders come up that are trying to keep you safe because your brain does not want you to repeat the mistakes of the past. This alone keeps so many people from setting new goals or even revisiting goals because all it brings up for them is lack of safety. Now, I am one of those people who has pulled out old journals and I'm seeing, are there some free pages in here that I can write business notes in? Only to find entries from 2 or 3 years ago with goals that are still goals I have today that I have yet to accomplish. And immediately when I see that, it brings up some fear, it brings up some embarrassment. It makes me feel like, what am I doing even still working on this thing if these versions of myself before weren't even able to move anything forward? And so it's tempting to be like, well, why am I trying? Let's take this off the docket. Let's start over. Let's do something different. Let's not even do this anymore at all. And so we find ourselves completely demotivated before we've even let ourselves get into planning, get into strategy. And that is because so many entrepreneurs fail to pay attention to the emotional charge that is guiding so many of our choices. And that is why, in simple terms, motivation doesn't work. It's not enough to keep you going. Because if the brain senses danger, if the brain senses you're about to repeat something that hurt you in the past, it wants to pull you back and keep you safe in your little zone where nothing can hurt you, including yourself and your own decisions and your own ambition. Your brain is wired for safety and not success. And this is one of the biggest things that I see so many ambitious, talented women trying to battle against, because in spite of the fact that they are meant to create something amazing, if their brain has not found a way to create safety around their dream, then they will keep self-sabotaging, they will overthink, and they will continue to repeat those patterns of the past, which causes even more perpetuation of that cycle. So it's not that you don't want the dream. It's not that you don't want to do the thing or do the work. It's because a big piece of you is trying to protect you from future disappointment. So if your brain is screaming danger, danger, and you're anxious about even creating a 2026 plan or a business plan or a strategy, or even like being brave enough to say what your dream is and what it is that you want, because so many women can't even answer such a simple question, here's what I want you to try. And it's not even going to take you very long. In fact, it's only going to take 10 minutes. This is your 10-minute move that is going to move you from overthinking and stalling into taking action. This is what you're going to do every time you start to feel anxious around setting your goals or making a plan or starting to implement a new strategy. Step 1, I just want you to name it and notice it. My brain is trying to protect me. I am in massive preservation mode and I am not a failure. I am not demotivated. My brain is simply trying to keep me safe. So just name it. My brain is trying to keep me alive and keep me safe. Step number 2 is to shrink it. Now, when I say shrink it, I'm not talking about shrinking down your dreams or your goals or making yourself smaller. I'm talking about shrinking your next action step. Okay, what is the smallest version of this action that I can do in the next 10 minutes? Step number 3 is to move. And this is the point where you have to do it before your brain has time to talk you out of it. Because that simple act of doing something, even for a few minutes, starts to create a new pattern in your brain. It starts to create a new image. All of our brains have this incredible system that recalls memories, and it goes on this beautiful picture that you have in your brain of what's possible. So even proving to your brain and cataloging a new memory that shows that you are able to be safe, taking action and moving forward in a small way starts to create more confidence for the brain that you can handle bigger things, more things. Repetition builds proof, and proof builds safety. In 2016, or maybe in different seasons of your life, you've had points where ignorance was bliss and you're able to be naive and you have no idea what could go wrong or even what could go right. And it's a lot less scary to move forward. But the longer we live and the more we procrastinate and the more failure or pain that we've had, the more difficult it becomes because our brain starts to collect all of those memories and it starts to catalog them and remind us how many things could go wrong or how many things are unsafe about us pursuing our dreams. So as you embark on a new year, as you start to move forward and shift into this beautiful version of yourself that is trying to create something incredible, I want you to use this tool and remember, there is nothing wrong with you. Your brain is operating exactly as it's meant to because safety is your brain and body's number one priority. All right, I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next 7 days, I want you to practice this tool and I want you to do such small little things that are going to start to build new muscle memory and create safety around you being successful, around you taking action, around you actually pursuing those big audacious dreams that you have for your business. For the next 7 days, don't try to fix your whole life. Don't try to rebrand your entire business. Don't try to create an entire business plan. Just take one safe step per day. One post, one pitch, one email, whatever it might be that is going to start to build new patterning and new belief that you are capable of moving forward. You are capable of doing hard things, and that is going to start showing your brain that these hard things maybe aren't so hard after all. I have so much more in store for you that's going to help you manage your emotions and regulate your nervous system so that you can start building the successful business and life that you are meant and destined to have. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe below, and I will see you on the next one.